How are you guys doing? This is another Arana Nation video. So, as many of you may know or may not know, there is going to be an election in the United Kingdom on December the the 21st. So it's just a stone's throw away from Christmas. This has never happened in the UK since the 20s, and you had a bunch of opposition members of parliament saying, you cannot do this during Christmas because the lights will be gone, it'll be dark, it'll be cold, there'll be too much snow, I mean, there'll be reindeer flying all over the place. I mean, they were describing a third world country. I mean, they were describing something that made Somalia look like Beverly Hills. I mean, they were making Scotland look like Afghanistan on steroids. I mean, the fact of the matter is that, I mean, if the Scottish people, because they were talking, it was a lot of Scottish MPs who were saying that a winter election would be disastrous because nobody would be able to vote in Scotland because it would be too dark, the power would be cut. I don't know what they were talking about. The toilet would be backed up. I mean, these guys were mentioning hell. And if the Scottish people, who I thought were a very tough people, but it seems they're not, if they can't even vote because it's winter, then what are we here for? I mean, if the British people can't even vote because it's winter, I mean, how did they create the British Empire? How did they create, the Emperor of India and Britannia and Stonehenge and Hundred-Year War? I mean, and these guys can't even vote during winter. I mean, this is a disaster. I mean, you got people in Iraq who are voting during war when people are shooting at them. You got women in Afghanistan who are voting when people are trying to literally kill them for voting. And the British people can't vote because of a little darkness? But anyway, forget that foolishness. We all know it's foolishness. They're trying to stop Brexit. Arana Nation has endorsed Boris Johnson. And unusually for Arana Nation, I've endorsed Boris Johnson's Conservatives to win a majority. Not only a majority, but a super majority. I think Boris Johnson, the more votes he gets, the better. 100%. Boris Johnson is real. Boris Johnson does want Brexit. There are a lot of people who are criticizing his deal. I've said I support the deal, though I would prefer no deal. And I've actually talked about ways that we can counteract the consequences of no deal. But this deal is certainly better than all the other deals that have been put forward. I mean, you're talking about the reason why a lot of people like Nigel Farage and all these people don't like the deal is because it leaves Northern Ireland in the customs union. Fact of the matter is, I don't have sympathy for Northern Ireland. They voted against Brexit. 55 to 45, Northern Ireland voted against Brexit, so they get what they voted for. As far as I'm concerned, if you sleep with the devil, prepare to go to hell. So you can't whine about it now. You voted against Brexit, so you're not going to get the benefits of Brexit. It's as simple as that. I still prefer no deal. Would I prefer it if Northern Ireland was not in the customs union? Yeah, I do. But, I mean, if that's the best Boris Johnson can do, then so be it. I mean, Northern Ireland slept with the devil. So if you sleep with the devil, prepare to be put in hell. You can't turn back now. There's a deal that Nigel Farage. Hang on one moment. Let me just do something here. One moment, please. Gotta turn on this air because when I make videos, it gets slightly warm in here. So, I keep the apartment a little bit warmer now because here in Canada it's getting colder. So, but when I make videos and with all the lights, the sweat tends to come down. So, but one moment. But yeah, okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah, Nigel wants to make a deal with Boris Johnson. He wants to form a Brexit Alliance. I think Boris should take the deal. Not because I think Nigel Farage should become Prime Minister or Deputy Prime Minister or anything like that. I mean, I think Boris should get a majority. This is one of the rare times I've actually endorsed a majority. I think Boris needs a majority. I think anything other than a majority would be a disaster for Brexit and the UK. I think that if it's a minority, Brexit is finished. Even with the Brexit Party holding the balance of power, it's over. But I think that there should be at least some sort of cooperation during the election where Nigel decides he won't run candidates in all of the ridings, and in exchange, Boris Johnson gets rid of this deal and maybe even puts in no deal. Now, here's what I've said Boris should do, and the UK in general should do, if there is no deal. I've said this, that one of the areas that would be affected is trade. Now, when it comes to trade, honestly, 99% of the trade deals that are out there are one-sided and unfair. It's usually the country that has the most advantage that has most to gain from the trade deal. Canada signed a trade deal just recently with America called USMCA. It's going to destroy Canada. It's going to rape Canada up the behind. America is going to gain all the rewards. Just like NAFTA raped America up the behind and Mexico gained all the rewards. So I'm not necessarily enthusiastic about a trade deal with the EU, but I'm also not enthusiastic over a trade deal with the US. And I don't think that Boris Johnson should listen to... First of all, I don't think Donald Trump should interfere himself in any British election. He should focus on America. He should focus on stopping those Democrats who are trying to impeach him instead of interfering in British elections when he really doesn't have British interests at heart, and nor should he. He's an American president. So stop interfering. Britain shouldn't be too hasty to sign a trade deal with the United States of America because they have chlorine in their chicken, chlorinated chicken, high drug prices. I mean, really, the type of food products that they give their people is disgusting. I mean, I wouldn't even feed a dog American food. I mean, literally, the American government allows companies to poison their own people. So why should the British stoop to that stinking level? You want a bunch of British people to be walking around fat with oxygen masks on them, diabetes, high blood pressure, all this stuff. I mean, you got America everywhere you look. You see an American who is 2 seconds away from dying from some heart failure or something. Not saying I'm perfect myself, but there's where we're at. But here's what Britain should do to counteract the consequences of no-deal Brexit. Subsidize the businesses that are forced to pay tariffs on any products that they ship into the EU. How do you do that? Give them back their VAT. Give them back the taxes they pay in VAT. Businesses pay a lot of taxes in Britain via the VAT, the value-added tax. So if a British company, Nissan or Tata or some other steel companies or anything like that, when they sell a product to the European Union and the European Union imposes a tariff on them because they don't have a trade deal, then Britain simply subsidizes that company, gives it back the money it had to pay in a tariff through the VAT. Give them back their money. They should be giving them back their money anyway. Give them back the taxes that they paid. So if whatever money they paid in tariffs, give it back to them. So virtually, and then in the meantime, what you do is you impose an even bigger tariff on the European Union. So the European Union will have to pay a tariff to ship any of its products to the UK, and you take that money and you also use it to subsidize businesses. But the businesses will effectively not have to pay a tariff to ship their products into the EU. The UK would boom like you've never seen it before because the British will be buying British because they'd have to, because the EU would slow down exporting products into the European Union. It would slow down, but Britain's economy would continue to export to the EU because they know they'd be subsidized. So the British economy would boom without a trade deal with EU and without a proper trade deal with the US. And you tell Donald Trump, if you think that you're going to have your disgusting filthy American Yankee Doodle chlorinated chicken in UK, along with your high drug prices, you've got another thing coming. You either give me a good trade deal, or we'll do the same thing to you like we're doing to EU, or even more. So the UK really doesn't have to be pushed around by any of these countries. No country has to be pushed around if they use their head. But the problem is these politicians are too busybody. They're too busy doing things. I think politicians are too busy. They have too much on their schedule. Every time you turn around, a politician is doing something. He's going somewhere. They don't have enough time. They don't have time to sit down and think about sensible, common sense ways to counteract any bullying, any shenanigans, any corruption that is happening, especially from the outside world. Never think that the outside world has your country's best interest at heart. The EU doesn't. Trump doesn't. No one does. So don't listen to them, and don't think that you can form any alliance with them. Because at the end of the day, they'll do what's best for their country, even if it means putting your country down. So that's one thing. So Boris really shouldn't be afraid of no deal. In fact, Boris Johnson can easily continue to say, look, we will have a no deal. Forget about any promise you made to the opposition. It's the same thing with countries. Don't cooperate with the opposition because they don't have your best interest at heart. They said that they would give you election if you said no deal was off the table. You said no deal is off the table to get the election. And now you can turn around because there's an election now. The writs will be dropped. When the writs is dropped, you go in front of number 10 Downing Street and say, by the way, I will form an alliance with Farage, not a government alliance, but an alliance where he doesn't put as much MP candidates in constituencies and all that stuff, or no candidates in any constituencies would be even better. I win 48% of the vote, and we're going to rip up this deal, and we'll have no deal until the European Union comes to its senses and gives us a very, very good deal where no country, no county, no province of the UK is in the customs union. But as I say, I'm not criticizing Boris Johnson's deal. If his deal goes through, it's no problem for me. I'm not British anyway, so none of it is a problem. But somebody who is the commander-in-chief of Arana Nation and the prophet of populism, I say that there is nothing wrong with Boris's deal. Take it from me. Don't take it from Farage. Don't take it from anyone else. You listen to me. I've been right about most things. I was right about the Canadian election. I was right about Meghan Markle. I'm right about a lot of, not right about everything, but I'm not wrong about a lot of things either. So you want to take it from him. There's nothing wrong with his deal. Northern Ireland voted to remain in UK. They slept with the devil. They slept with the prostitute, and now they have STDs. Why should Boris Johnson be concerned with Northern Ireland when they slept with a prostitute and now they're complaining that they got AIDS? Boris Johnson told you not to sleep with the prostitute. He was for Brexit. Boris Johnson said the EU is going to give you AIDS. It's given us AIDS, and we found a cure, and we're going to try and rip it out of us. Don't sleep with the prostitute again, because he'll give you an even worse STD, a worse AIDS, which will be even harder to extract from your body. And then what did Northern Ireland do? They voted against Brexit. Scotland voted against Brexit. So why shouldn't we all now be concerned about Northern Ireland being in the EU customs union when they voted for the EU? They have AIDS now, and they have to live with it. They have STD. They have to live with the EU STD. They have to. If you sleep with a prostitute, if you sleep with the devil, prepare for the consequences. If the vote had gone a different way, then I would say, no, this is a bad deal. But the Northern Ireland voted against Brexit. How dare they? How dare they? They voted against Brexit. Now they need to be punished. I don't have sympathy for them, but I do support no deal. I'm not afraid of no deal. Bring it on. I have an idea of how we can counteract that. If the politicians would listen to me, if anyone would listen to me for a change, well, I do have over 14,000 subscribers, so a lot of people listen. But maybe things would get done anyway. This is the Arana Nation.